All right, now we're going to look at the tibia. Okay, I have a left tibia here. You can see the inside ankle bone, your medial malleolus, shin bone, tibial tuberosity, right there. You can see medially you have the pes area. Remember, that's where the pes insurinus tendinous junction attaches. You have a little bursa sac under there. The pes area, that's the attachment site for 3 muscles, the sartorius, the semitendinosus, and the gracilis. They all attach right there with one tendon that looks like a goose's foot. And that's what pes anserine or pes insurinus means, foot of the goose. Now, real quick before we get too far into this, we're going to take a look at the tibial plateau. Now, I know the light's making it a little bit hard to see here, but I want you to see all the detail there. There's a lot going on the top of the tibia. So, the whole thing is the tibial plateau. And you have these 2 flattened areas here. Those are the condyles of the tibia. Condyles means knuckles. Those are the knuckles of the tibia, where the knuckles of the femur sit. So knuckle to knuckle, a little knuckle sandwich literally, where the meniscus is the meat and cheese of the 2 pieces of bread, your knuckle sandwich there. Okay, so we have the condyles right here, and you got to think, you need meniscus, you need some squishy cartilage there. You need something with lubrication, force dispersion, all that stuff. You do not want bone on bone there. So you need some filling for your sandwich. All right, so we have the condyles, and then we're going to have these 2 depressed areas between the condyles. That's going to be your anterior intercondylar area and your posterior intercondylar area. That's where your PCL and ACL attach. ACL on the anterior portion, PCL on the posterior portion. Now in the middle of your plateau, you've got a mountain, literally a mountain. So if you look at it up here, that light is making it bad. You can see the horns too. So we have a big mountain with horns. The whole mountain itself is the intercondylar eminence. And then within the eminence, these 2 horns are the tubercles of the intercondylar eminence. So one of them's going to be the medial tubercle. Remember, this is mirror image here. Okay, so medial malleolus, medial tubercle of the intercondylar eminence, lateral tubercle of the intercondylar eminence. Because you're looking at the anterior view. Tibial tuberosity, pes area, tibial plateau. Now, if we look at the back, the posterior portion of the proximal tibia, I want you to take note of this little facet right here. So this is the lateral side of the tibia. That's where the femur, not the femur, oh my goodness, the fibula, good gravy, the fibula would attach right here. So it's going to have a proximal articulation and it's going to have a distal articulation. The proximal articulation is called the superior fibular articular facet. If you get too stuck on all those words, just describe it to me. You know that that's where the fibula articulates. So think the superior articulation for the fibula. That's another way to tell me exactly what that is. Try not to get so hung up on memorizing the words. This isn't about memorizing. It's about understanding and describing what you're talking about here. All right. Now, distally, you can see there's a huge notch. Looks like somebody took a chunk, a little divot tool, and went, just chop that out. That's a little notch, the fibular notch. That's just where the fibula articulates. Okay? Now let's look more at the posterior surface. I don't know if you can see this with the light. It's very, very faint on this model. Yeah, that light's really, well, there you can kind of see it. All right, we've got our fibular facet there. You're going to see a faint line kind of shadowing right here, a diagonal line down from that facet. That is called your soleal line or your popliteal line. So real quick, I want you to visualize this turkey leg sitting on this bone. Remember, that was a diagonal line. Well, looky here. There's a diagonal insertion for the soleus. So now it should make total sense why you call this the soleal line. That is literally where the soleus begins and comes down the shaft of the tibia until it ultimately inserts through the calcaneal tendon to the calcaneal tuberosity. Now you also have a muscle called the popliteus that crosses the knee like that. It attaches up on the femur and it runs like this diagonally. And that popliteus meets with the soleus. They meet right there together at that line. So that's why that's called the soleal or popliteal line. Okay, so superior fibular articular facet, soleal or popliteal line. And there's one more thing we need to know. And you can see it pretty well right here. See that right there? So you had your medial malleolus. But if we look at the back of the malleolus, you should see a groove right there. Right there. If we're looking a little bit closer, you can see it pretty good. There's a groove on the back of the malleolus, and that's just called the malleolar groove or sulcus. Okay? Those are all the landmarks I can ask you for your tibia, but you need to pay special attention to the attachment sites. So your anterior and posterior intercondylar areas for your ACL and PCL. The pes area, that's a big attachment site for those three muscles. And then you got your tibial tuberosity, that's a huge one. Remember your quadriceps, they all insert here. They come through that quadriceps tendon that passes over the patella. The patella is embedded in that complex, and then you have the patellar ligament which attaches here. But that's the distal attachment for the quadriceps. So via the patellar ligament, they can pull that patella into that nice little groove when you're extending the knee forcefully. Okay, so remember your distal attachment there, ACL distal attachments there. Remember your medial malleolus, and then remember your articulations for the fibula as well. The other attachment that you need to remember is that soleal line. Okay, that would be the proximal attachment for your soleus. So all of those are fair game and could be questions on your practical for attachments.